In this training video, we're going to take a look at how to set up your agreement wording or contracts themselves, plus create your actual agreements, and how to add an agreement to a client, as well as adding a new client in the system. The agreement section is under Settings and Tools in the menu on the left. Clicking the plus, we can see two sections we're going to focus on: agreement wording and agreements. You're going to start by setting up your agreement wording. The agreement wording is basically the wording of the contract itself that you use on your memberships. In this case, we've got 4 examples. We've got a membership agreement, a personal training agreement, a pre-authorized payment agreement, and a semi-monthly membership agreement that has slightly different wording from the standard membership agreement. Once these are set up, when you create the actual agreements themselves in the agreement section, you can choose which of these wordings are assigned to each individual agreement. So let's click the Edit button to bring up membership agreement so we can see what it looks like. So here we can see we've got the name and a basic description. And then down below that, we have a section which is sort of similar to a Word document. Here, you can simply type in information and lay it out in a format that you want for your contract. You can also use the fields on the left so that when this contract is added to a client's profile, it will import the information from both the agreement, which are from the agreement fields here, which is a lot of your date and financial information, such as the dues or annual fee amounts. And then down below you have your client fields. So that's a lot of the contact information that would then be imported. So in the contract itself, we can see at the top, we have a section for name. And you can see we've got the fields, first name, middle name, and last name. So when this is assigned to a client's profile, it will import their first, middle, and last name into this section, as well as the rest of their contact information. And then down below, you can see the membership type section has the agreement name, and then and then the company name. So we'll insert your company's name. And there's various other sections, including cancellation fees, a section about monthly dues, a section about billing and renewals. And again, this is just an example of a contract. Ideally, what you're going to want to do is take your existing contract, and if you have a digital copy of it, copy and paste it into here. And then we can work with you to refine it and update it to make sure it looks the way you want it to look. If you don't have a digital copy of your contract, then you may need to recreate it digitally in here. Again, for more details on this, you can click on the Help button in the top right of the page, which will give you more details on how to set up these agreement wordings. And additionally, this will be covered in your live training sessions. Next, we're going to look at the agreement section. This is where you're going to create your actual membership agreements. So here we've got a bunch of examples. So let's take a look at the 2-year bi-weekly membership that we've created. So we'll click the Edit button to bring it up and make it active. So here we can see the agreement name, a description, and then all the basic information about this agreement. So in this case, we can see it is an auto-renewing agreement that has been checked. There are no packages added to this agreement. It's a bi-weekly payment type. It's a 24-month term. We can see what the default dues are, as well as the admin fee, card fee, and cancellation fee. Now, if you charge a cancellation fee for clients to cancel this agreement prior to the end of the term, you would simply enter that here. So let's say you charge a $199 cancellation fee. We're going to enter $199 here. Now, whenever you sell this agreement to any client, if that agreement is canceled prior to the end of the term, the software will automatically generate an invoice for $199 for that client. Next, you can set up what your annual fees are if you have any. You can set up to 2 and on up to 2 different date range throughout the year. If you leave the dates blank, the annual fee will simply be charged on the anniversary date of the start date or creation date of the agreement itself. You can select what your taxes are that you're charging on your agreements, whether you want to display it in the virtual store, so to allow clients to be able to log in and purchase an agreement when they're already a member, you can choose what fields are locked for your staff. So this is important because it controls how much freedom you want to give your staff with adjusting prices. So right now, if we were to select all of these as locked, when a staff member is adding this agreement to a client's profile, in other words, selling them this agreement, they will not be able to adjust any of the fees that we've put above here because they're all locked. So the only person that has access to that would be a manager or administrator, but staff members will not be able to change that. If you have some flexibility, let's say for example with what your administration and your card fees are, then you would simply uncheck admin and card fee, and that will now allow your staff the freedom to adjust those prices when they're selling the membership to the client. Next, every agreement that you create will have a payment processing link associated with it. This is so that, again, you can create a sales page on your website, put a description of the agreement, put a Buy Now button, and then associate this link with the Buy Now button. Clients will then be able to click it, enter their payment information, agree to the agreement wording online, and then it will create them as a new client in your system and set up their billing information automatically. So all they need to do is then come into the club, digitally sign the agreement itself, and then they're good and they're automatically set up for billing. Below that, you're going to choose what agreement wording is going to associate with this agreement type. So for this one, we're going to use just the basic membership agreement. And then you can choose if you're going to add unlimited sessions to this agreement. So let's say with this 2-year biweekly, you're going to include unlimited bootcamp access. You would simply select bootcamp, and now they'd have access to unlimited bootcamp classes during the duration of this agreement. If you want to select multiple items, hold down the Shift key and you can select groups of items. Or if you want to select individual multiple items, use the Control key and you can select individual items. And if you want to reset it and you don't want anything selected, simply click on the blank space at the top, and now nothing is selected and they will not have unlimited sessions access to anything. When you're done, simply click Save, and that will create the agreement for you. So now you've created your agreement wording and your actual agreements themselves. So next, let's take a look at how you would sell one of those agreements to a client. So we're going to go under Manage Staff and Clients to your Client Management page. This is the page that will get used most often in the software, and you should have open at the front desk for your front desk and sales staff to have access to. If you're adding a new client, you would simply click Add Client in the upper right-hand corner, and the software will create a blank template that you can just enter the basic contact information for that client. Just for time's sake, we're going to take a look at just selling an agreement to an existing client. So let's say Jen Abel comes in today and she needs to buy a new agreement. We'd simply click on the shortcuts and click on Agreements for Jen. This will now take us to her agreements page. And we can see she has a 3-month paid in full agreement that ended on February 14th. So it is no longer active. So she has currently no active agreement in the system. So she needs to buy a new agreement. So now as a staff member, I'm simply going to select the agreement that she's purchasing. So let's say she's going to purchase this 2-year biweekly membership. I would choose the agreement start date, which will default to today, but you can set it to whatever date you want. And then you can choose your payment start date. So let's say you do your payments all on the 15th and the 1st of the month. Now, because the 15th is within 2 days of your agreement start date, that will not give you enough time to set up and process the billing. So we'll want to set her up for the 1st of the month. So here we'll click Next to go to May and select the 1st. Now, if the client was adamant that they needed the 15th to be their payment date, then no problem. We will just set it as May 15th, and then the software will automatically calculate a prorate that they would need to pay today in lieu of paying on May 1st. You can see who the responsible for payment is, and now you can see where the staff member must enter their sold by or PIN code. That's so that you can always know who has sold what memberships to who. Once that information is all entered, the staff simply clicks Add New Client Agreement. This is now going to create the actual agreement in the software. So here we can see it's the 2-year biweekly. It is auto-renewing. There's no packages associated with it. It's a biweekly payment for 24-month term. It was created today with this PIN code, which will show you the staff member's name. It shows what the payment start date is, what the end date of the agreement is, and there's a field where you can enter a cancel date, which of course you won't be able to enter until the agreement is actually created and saved. It shows who's responsible for the payment, and if they're an existing client and they have a stored payment method on file, you can simply select it from the list. Or you can add new credit card or new check information directly to the membership. Now keep in mind, if you select a stored payment method or add a new credit card or check right on the agreement, then this agreement that you create will always use that payment method. So if the client were to come in 2 weeks later and update their billing information to a new billing type, you would need to come back to this agreement and change the stored payment method. Having said that, if you leave the stored payment method blank, then the system will automatically use whatever the client's most current stored payment method is. So this allows you the best of both worlds. You may have clients that have 2 or 3 different agreement types and they want to use 2 or 3 different payment types, so you can select the payment type to associate with that agreement. But you may have clients that always want to just make sure that their most current billing information is used, in which case you simply leave this blank and it will use their most recent stored billing information. Next, we can see what the default agreement dues are, and then all of your various fees associated with this. So these are one-time fees that are going to be charged today, with the exception of the cancellation fee, which would be charged when the agreement is actually canceled if it's prior to the end of the term. Now keep in mind, right now I'm logged in as an administrator, so I have access to change any of these numbers. Administrators always do. If I was logged in as a front desk staff member, these fields would be locked and they would not have the ability to edit them. And that's based on the information that we went through before when we were creating the agreement on which fields we wanted to lock. Now, because the client isn't going to make their first automated payment till May 15th, they're going to need to pay a prorate. The software will calculate out that prorate for you. So if you click Calculate Prorate, we can see that the software will calculate out that they owe $52.46 today, and that will pay them from today up until May 15th, their first automated payment. So when we save this agreement, it's going to create an invoice for $52.46 plus the $49 admin fee plus the $15 card fee, and it's going to create one invoice for that amount that is due today. These are your one-time payments. Next, we've got the annual fee section, so you can see what the annual fees are and what dates they'll be charged on. You can see what taxes associated with this and if there's any unlimited sessions associated with the agreement. You've got sections where you can add credits or add freezes to the agreement as well. For more details on this, you can check the question mark icons, which will give you a little bit of detail, or again, watch the help video in the upper right-hand corner of the page. And finally, we've got the agreement wording. This is where you're going to create the actual digital contract itself. So first of all, the staff member will need to check that all the information is correct. Once that's correct, they can now add the text, which will create the digital contract. So here we can see now is imported the membership wording or membership agreement wording and added the client's content information as well as all the payment information from up above to create the digital contract that's customized to this client for this agreement. You can go through it with the client and then you can capture their signature online. Clicking Capture Signature will take you to a signature page where they can simply sign, save, and now their digital signature is added as part of this agreement. So we can see it stored within the client's profile and also within the digital agreement itself on the signature line. When you're done, you simply click Save. You've now saved the agreement and it's going to generate an invoice for the initial payments. Each invoice has a little mini point of sale system right on it. So if they're paying this by Visa today, you simply select Visa, click Add Payment, run the 128.11 through your Visa machine, and you've now collected that 128 and the invoice is no longer outstanding. And then you simply close the tab and you're back to the agreement page. You can now click Save one more time You've completed the process. You're back to the client's agreement page. We can see we've added the 2-year biweekly membership. You have shortcuts to cancel the agreement or freeze the agreement. We can see the basic details of the agreement. And if you need more information, you can click Edit to go back to the page and see it, although you will not actually be able to change any of the dues or amounts on the agreement because you now have a contract with that client. Additionally, if you or the client wanted a printed copy of the agreement, you can simply click the preview icon, which will bring up a printable page that you can then print for the client or for your own records. You can now exit the profile of this client, and you're back to your admin page and ready for your next transaction. So this is how it's done to set up your agreement wording, your agreements, and a brief tutorial on how you're going to sell an agreement to a client. Again, for any more information, make sure you watch the help videos on any individual page, and this will also be covered during your live online training sessions.